Hey there, this is Joyce, content marketer and founder based in Hong Kong. I help those with an entrepreneurial mindset explore their full potential with content. For this video, we're going to deep dive into one of the biggest questions that people have about content marketing. How do you actually do storytelling with content? Of course, if you're new to this channel, be sure to check out all my other videos, like, comment, and subscribe. And here we go. If you've been researching about how to do content marketing and storytelling for your own brand, it's very likely that you've came across systems like the hero's journey, as well as the Freytag pyramid. Now, of course, these are great frameworks for you to follow when it comes to creating the story for your brand. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a step back and guide you through the first, second, third, and the so on steps for you to actually create content that not only tells a story, entertains and attracts your audiences, but also helps them consider your service at the end. The first thing you need to figure out is the main character of your story. Now, obviously, it's much easier if you're a startup, entrepreneur, / you're a freelancer. That character is very likely to be yourself. So you're going to share your own journey, your passion, your experiences with the world. However, it gets a little complicated when it comes to companies that are serving the B2B sector, or even those who have a much stronger brand awareness instead of having one ambassador or face of the company to represent the brand message. So how can that be done? The first very easy thing is if you think about things like movies and storybooks or even theater entertainment, what you'll find is that it's very easy to personify something. So that's what you need to start off with. Think about your company or your brand or the main character as though it is personified out of something. Now, the easiest way to do that is to identify your brand mission, your vision, as well as your values. So branding really comes in very importantly here. Once you have those established, it's actually much easier to think about what the character is. It might even end up being like a character, what Duolingo does a great job in. So first thing is create that character and make sure to understand who your main character of your story is. Now, once you've established your main characters, the second thing you need to recognize is that there's really two main styles of story. One being the success story and the other being a change story. When it comes to the success story, like its name suggests, it's more about telling people about your brand's success, its achievements, the things that it does well, and it really places your brand in the center of it all, hoping to inspire your audiences to want to work with you. Now, this style of story does tilt more towards the salesy side of the angle. However, it's still very important to include within your whole storytelling for the brand. Vice versa, when it comes to the change story, it puts your target audiences into the story as though they are the main character, experiencing the changes, the journeys that your company is able to provide them through your main character. So it's more experience driven, and it's really trying to showcase to your target audiences through the story what they can expect if they were to work with somebody like you. So how should you decide if you should be telling the change story or the success story? Now, it really boils down to the objective that you've set out for these content to achieve. As an example, if you're trying to build brand awareness on the top of the funnel, it would make more sense for you to tell the change story to attract people with the experiences and the journey and the things that you can provide them. In versus to that, if you're trying to create stories that is on the bottom of the funnel, triggering a purchase or a conversion with people who are already well aware of your brand, then a success story would make more sense. Now, one of the examples that I give my students when I teach about change story versus success stories is McDonald's here in Hong Kong. Back in the very beginning when they just established here in Hong Kong and opened their first stores, they were obviously telling the change story. Telling local office ladies what is the advantage of eating fast food, how can it save them time, what they expect with a very low price and still receive an enjoyable meal. Nowadays, everybody knows what McDonald's is, and it doesn't really take a lot of selling, more telling them what new products there are for them to try. So now their storytelling is a lot more about success, their latest meals, packages, influencer campaigns, and things like that. So that's one of the examples you can consider when you're thinking about which story you need to tell for your own brand right now. Now, after that has been established, a lot of bigger companies usually just outsource the creative idea process to an agency and tell them, hey, we want to tell this sort of a story to express this sort of a message. And it kind of just gets done by the creative. However, if you're somebody like me, or if you're in a small business and you're not outsourcing it to anybody else, where do you move on from here? Now, my tip would be to consider the following 4 points. Think about that story and think about what you're trying to provide at the end of the day. Are you trying to be helpful? Are you trying to be entertaining? Are you trying to be educational? Or are you trying to be referenceable? So these are the 4 things that I go through with my mentees as I teach them how to create content as well. Because you need to recognize what the takeaway is at the end of the day in order for you to formulate that story so that it actually drives the objective you want it to drive, without it just being a nice story to have for the brand. And once you have those 3 things set up, you can actually start crafting on your drawing board. Think about your main character or the personified brand character that you have developed, which story that you're trying to tell when it comes to telling a change, experience, a journey, or the success, the achievements of your brand, and what is the outcome that you're trying to serve to the target audiences who will be consuming these types of content. Then it becomes much more easier for you to actually craft out that idea from beginning, middle to an end, just like you would if you were writing an article or actually verbally telling a children's story. Now, let me give you a personal example. Let's just say that I want to tell a story, a change story, that provides my target audiences with an educational takeaway, with the main character being myself, Joy Sang. What I usually do is I think of a actual scenario that I've experienced that's related to a change that I've experienced personally, and that it drives to an educational outtake for somebody like myself. That makes it highly personal and just easy to talk about because I've been there and I've actually experienced it firsthand. So one of the posts that I've created on my LinkedIn is all about me visiting a high school here in Hong Kong with a local foundation called the Cocoon Foundation. In that workshop, I've learned a lot because I received questions from those high schoolers and they asked me things that I actually never thought about before becoming an entrepreneur. That was a change for me, and I realized that that was a moment that was worth telling in order to spread this idea of Joy Sang being an educator, open to new ideas, experience with talking with high schoolers through a story. I took that scenario, talked about it, pulled out a hook, so something that I think would gravitate to my target audience persona, and put that in the beginning. Then I followed up with a bit more information as to what happened, a problem or surprise that I encountered, which is the question that I received, and the outtake that I got, what I actually taught me, hopefully transpire into something that my audiences would take away as well. As you can tell, with the combination of the 3 things that I've mentioned and a scenario that I personally experienced, it wasn't very difficult to come up with a story, and it's a very short format story too. It's just a LinkedIn post. So imagine if you were able to gather some similar ideas and put them into a longer format story. It could be repurposed into things like videos or long format blogs or articles and things like that. And all of those are actually using the storytelling element that you can exercise content marketing with. Now, I will have to admit again that it is and it feels much more easy if you are an individual with a startup or if you're an entrepreneur and you're telling the story from your first person point of view. But it can still be done with a B2B company. It's just really about nailing down your brand vision, mission, as well as your values straight off the bat. So with that being said, if you're also an entrepreneur slasher or somebody considering to start a side business, thinking about doing storytelling with content marketing to utilize these content to attract your leads, to build your brand, and to build your business, I actually have a mentorship program specifically tailored to this, where we go through recognizing your own personal messaging platform. We go through all the content pillars that you should be considering. We go through who your target audiences are and what they gravitate towards in order to tell you what content you should be creating, as well as what we just went through, the whole gist of how you can actually create social media posts with the whole idea of storytelling and content marketing. With there, I already have mentees exercising the practices I've taught them through the program. I have seen amazing success. Some of them has even used a similar idea and landed new jobs, started new businesses, or looking for funding for their next startup. So if you're interested in learning a bit more about storytelling for your own personal brand or even for your B2B company, be sure to reach out to me, leave a comment. You can find me across the internet just by searching Joy Sang Content Marketing. I hope this video really gave you a lot of value when it comes to storytelling with content marketing. And of course, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.